Hey guys, how's it going? Alex here with Higher Hertz. In this video, we are taking a look at one of my absolute favorite kind of toys, gadgets that I keep around in the studio. This incredibly cool and useful device is called the Roland Handsonic HP-D20. Now, what exactly is this thing? Well, I look at it as one device that contains all of the hand percussion you could ever need or want to use on a recording. So it's kind of built to mimic playing something like a djembe or a conga or something like that. Obviously we have a round head, we have all of these sort of touch sensitive zones here, and you play it more or less like you would play any hand percussion instrument. But the really cool thing is, being Roland, it is chock full of samples of all kinds of different great hand percussion instruments. So everything from congas to djembes to other sort of ethnic folk instruments. There's all kinds of different African and Asian percussion instruments in here, cajon, all manner of cowbells and sort of metallic hits and stuff. It also has a ton of electronic sounds in it. So different like electronic kits, even some sampled acoustic kits. It's really incredibly versatile in terms of the sound set that it has built into it. But where it really comes in handy is for somebody like myself who does a lot of different styles of production. Maybe I'm working on a video game one day, the next day I'm doing a rock, producing a rock tune for a band or an independent artist. Maybe I'm doing pop the next day, or some kind of electronic or rap thing. And this thing gives me one really easy device to grab and pull up and play, and from it I can get really natural performances on all these different kinds of acoustic and again electronic percussion instruments. Incredibly handy. So we're going to give a quick rundown of the features. It's not a wildly complicated device, but it definitely can do a lot, and I'll play a couple of my favorite kits for you guys so you can check them out. So taking a look at the top here, everything is really easily laid out. Obviously you have your pads here. You've got kind of 4 main zones, 1 central zone, and then on the outside you have 8 of these smaller zones, and that's kind of how you get around and play. But the really cool thing is that these all have MIDI aftertouch kind of built into them. So they detect not only when you strike them and how hard you strike them, but if you leave your hand on, it can change the sound. You can load 2 different sounds onto each pad, and if you go into the menus, you can kind of set up how and when you would like to trigger those 2 different sounds. So say for the conga sound in here, you have an open strike, and then you can actually get a closed strike. We'll take a listen to that in just a moment here. But you can also modify the pitch of each individual pad using this pitch control here. There are some built-in effects, including a really nice sounding reverb that you can access with this effect button here, and you modify those parameters by using this little knob right here. There is a roll function that allows you to roll each pad individually. Kit obviously is going to let you scroll through different kits. We do have a headphone volume control for the headphone output, and then a master output volume. You have a metronome that you can activate, a quick record function in case you have you can attach a USB thumb drive onto the back and actually record kind of ideas and demo snippets onto that if you so choose. Here we have our screen, which obviously is going to show you everything that's going on. This first option, chain, allows you to kind of combine different kits. Like if you were playing a gig on this thing and you needed to quickly cycle through different kits, you can set that up in chain. Quick edit allows you to kind of change the tuning of each of these sounds, as well as the individual volume response on each pad, and then even muffling. So you can actually kind of muffle each individual sample, which is really handy, especially for building kind of more authentic sounding kits. And over here you have basic navigation control. You can dive into the menu and edit MIDI, edit all your effects, all that kind of stuff as you would expect from one of Roland's sort of flagship products. So moving on from there, on the back, we take a look at an image. We have a couple of things going on. First of all, like I said, you can attach a USB thumb drive. You can also attach this to a computer, use it as a MIDI controller. Very handy, especially if you have great percussion VSTs. That's an awesome way to use this. You, of course, have headphone output. You have stereo TRS outputs. You also have a series of trigger and pedal inputs for using. You could plug in like a hi-hat controller to this and a kick drum controller and actually kind of use it as a micro a sort of V-drum kit substitute, if you will, or, have a kick sample on the floor and then be playing the conga or something on the pad itself, which is very, very cool. You, of course, also have MIDI in and out dedicated jacks, and plenty of connectivity on the back. So now that we've talked about all this, there's one more really interesting feature that I want to talk about here, which is called the D-Beam. And the D-Beam is this thing right here. It's a funky little sort of infrared sensor, I suppose. And what it allows you to do is actually use your hand in the air, and the closer you get to the unit, further away you get to the unit, you can control different effects and trigger different sounds with this. So you turn on the D-Beam by pushing the D-Beam button right here, and here we're on a preset called Filtered, which is kind of a wacky phaser filtery drum set sound. But the D-Beam triggers this kind of synth pad, and you can see as I'm lifting my hand up, it's actually affecting both the pitch and sort of like a low-pass filter on that filtered sound. And you can toggle the D-Beam on and off. So on some of these presets, you can use the D-Beam to control effects. On others, like if we just go to this nice studio drum kit, the D-Beam acts as another trigger. So you could be It's in midair, so it's kind of hard to keep it in time, but you can kind of use it as an additional trigger, which is kind of cool. So fun little feature there. You can definitely do some fun stuff with it. There's like some kits in here where that controls like chimes, which is kind of a natural way to, you normally kind of run your fingers through chimes to play them. You can do something similar here, or like different pads, swells. Or again, you can assign it to effects, filters, make a really big reverb if you get close to it or something. You can go in and set up, whatever you want it to do. It's completely configurable. But it is just kind of an interesting and fun addition to this whole system. So that's kind of an overview of how to use it. You can go pretty deep and build custom kits, chain kits together, do effects, all this kind of stuff. I really rely on it, like I said a moment ago, for just great hand percussion sounds, because depending on what I am doing, I might need just a conga, or I might need a cool ethnic instrument like an udu. And again, you can hear when I hit and hold, it plays a separate sample that's shorter. That's nice and open. That's tighter. This is really clear if we go back to the conga setting, which I use all the time, because on conga grooves you have that side slap. It's really sensitive, and using that aftertouch, it tells the sort of sound engine here, what Roland calls their supernatural sound engine. It tells it when to play these different samples, so you can craft really pretty you can play really, really authentic sounding like conga patterns and different world world rhythms on this thing, and it sounds really quite convincing. So I love the conga, I love the udu, or the sort of pot drum that we heard there a second ago. There's a darbuka. With a reek, which is a traditional Arabic tambourine. So it's just got a ton of really, really great kind of world percussion sounds in it. And instead of having to have a huge studio full of all these things and actually go buy all this different stuff. You can kind of just have this. And does it sound perfect? No. You can definitely kind of, if you're really listening to it, definitely tell it's a sample library. But when you've got it back in a mix, like especially if you're doing a bigger, some kind of a really sound design heavy production, like for TV or film or video games or something, or if you have like a big, rock or electronic production with some of these sounds in it, it really sounds incredibly convincing and authentic. If you listen to it naked, I wouldn't necessarily recommend this for like critical acoustic recordings where it's like just acoustic guitar and tabla or something like that. You can definitely tell when it's on its own. But when it's blended with other stuff, it really does sound incredibly convincing, which is great. There are some really interesting sounds as well. Waterphone. And you can press in and use that aftertouch to affect the pitch a little bit of these samples. Waterphone, of course, very famous in like horror movies and for sound design and soundtracks and stuff. You also have some melodic loops in here and some pretty interesting little sound sets. And some people might hear this kind of stuff and think it sounds a little bit cheesy. I think it's really, really great for just kind of getting new inspiration. And, maybe you take this, you attach it to your DAW, like I've got it recording here behind me, and you can do all kinds of cool effects to it, get some really unique and unusual sort of soundscapes that you wouldn't really be able to do with anything else. But it's still, it's not like you're just sitting there programming it. It really still feels like somebody is playing it. Here's a samba kit. It's just so cool how sensitive it is to how you are striking. It really makes it feel like an instrument. Here's conga and bongo combined. This is one I use all the time. Got some cowbells up there. I use it for cowbells all the time as well. Djembe. It's just got tons and tons and tons and tons of different sound banks in it, essentially, from all over the world. And being somebody who really enjoys and appreciates world music, that's something that's really cool to me. And it's something that I use in productions all the time. So this has been out for a number of years. I wasn't able to find exactly what year it was released, but I think it may have even been upwards of 10 years ago. But Roland does still make them. The price as it sits right now is $1,099. Now that I think is a little bit steep. So this is something I would recommend picking up secondhand. I don't, I use it all the time, and even I would have a hard time justifying paying full price of $1,100. I got mine used for I think $700 or $800, something like that, on Reverb. That feels a little bit more fair. So if you were interested in picking out one up for yourself, I would definitely recommend looking around to see if you can get a bit of a better deal on it, because $1,100 is pretty steep. But overall, it's insanely useful. I use it all the time on different productions, and it's fun. It sits right next to me in the studio. I can grab it, I can pull it out, I can mess around with a couple of ideas, I can add some flavors. If I just want to throw a cowbell or something on a track, I don't have to set up a mic and go dig through all my boxes and shelves and stuff where I kind of keep all my percussion toys. I can just pull this thing, turn it on. It stays hooked up to my interface, and I can just throw down some basic percussion stuff on the fly. So very, very useful for that. If you are somebody who does production work like what I'm describing, I think this would be a great thing to add to your collection, especially if you find yourself reaching for these kinds of sounds, conga loops, ethnic percussions, kind of stuff, on a frequent basis. As I said earlier, it does have some more modern kits in them. That's kind of cool. This is called Urban Mood. It's cool. If I'm going to do something like that, I'm going to do it in my DAW. You know, I'm going to pull up a drum machine and just do it that way. But it is nice to have. Again, where it really shines is these kind of acoustic world percussion, cajon. Very, very, very useful for that stuff. Sounds very convincing, and overall just a really handy production tool to have. But in any case, thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you found the video interesting. I hope you found it useful. What do you think of the HPD-20? Is this something that you feel like you could use in your workflow or in your studio? Do let me know in the comments down below. Would love to hear from you. If you did enjoy the video, be sure to give it a like, hit that subscribe button, click the bell to be kept up to date with our newest videos. And yeah, other than that, thanks again for watching. I'm Alex with Higher Hertz. We'll see you in the next one.